Being fluent in English is something that many people dream of. Imagine being able to share your thoughts smoothly, without hesitation. Yes, I wanted to be fluent, but I didn't know what to do for fear of making mistakes. One day, my teacher looked at me and said, "You can become fluent by practicing every day." Can you believe it? That one sentence changed everything. I realized that fluency was not a talent, it was a goal. And like any goal, I had to work for it. Fluency is not achieved in a day. I liken it to the growth of a tree. You start with a tiny seed, water it every day, give it sun, care for it patiently, and one day, that tiny seed turns into a big and strong tree. English fluency is just like that. It is something that you need to grow by taking a step every day, by taking care of it patiently. One day you realize that you are speaking with confidence. One day a student came up to me upset and said, "Teacher, I want to speak English, but I always forget words." I smiled at her and said, "Don't worry. Fluency is not about remembering every word. It's about practicing." Her eyes lit up with hope. "But how can I practice?" she asked. "Practice everywhere, talk to your friends, listen to stories, sing songs. Yes, even in English. Isn't that wonderful?" Every moment is an opportunity to practice. At school, every night my teacher would read stories and I would repeat every word. At first I was very slow, but over time I got faster, my vocabulary increased, and my confidence grew. One day a student asked me, "Is fluency only about speaking fast?" I smiled and said, "No, fluency is about speaking clearly and confidently so that others can understand you. You don't need to rush, just speak from the heart." One of my students used to speak very fast in class, but no one could understand him. I told him, "Slow down, speak clearly, use simple words." What do you think happened? Soon, everyone started to understand him, and his confidence grew. He really liked speaking English. Fluency is like a journey. Every step is very important, and there is no need to speed up. Enjoy every step because one day you will look back and see how far you have come. Shall I tell you a secret? Are you ready? The secret of fluency is listening. You learn more by listening. One of my students used to listen to English songs every day, and soon he started singing along. This is how his fluency developed. One more thing is important. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Your mistakes are your best teachers. One of my students was very afraid of making mistakes and kept silent, afraid of not saying the right thing. One day she dared to speak in class. She made many mistakes, but she didn't give up, and with every word she said, she gained more confidence. Thinking your thoughts in English is another important step. When you think in English, you start speaking naturally. One of my students was constantly translating from his own language into English, and it was slowing him down. I said to him, "Try thinking in English, even when you are alone." Over time, his fluency improved, and he was now speaking without any translation at all. Thinking your thoughts in English is another important step. When you think in English, you start speaking naturally. One of my students was constantly translating from his own language into English, and it was slowing him down. I said to him, "Try thinking in English, even when you are alone." Over time, his fluency improved, and now he spoke without any translation. Reading is also a great way to develop fluency. As you read, you learn new words, see sentence structure, and get a better grasp of the language. When I was learning English, I used to read simple books. Every time I found a new word, I would write it down and try to use it in a sentence. Recording your own voice is also an effective method. One of my students used to read a story every day and record it. Then he would listen to the recording and identify where he needed to improve. Soon he was speaking fluently. Thinking your thoughts in English is another important step. When you think in English, you start speaking naturally. One of my students was constantly translating from his own language into English, and it was slowing him down. I said to him, try thinking in English, even when you are alone. Over time, his fluency improved, and now he spoke without any translation. Practicing with a friend can also make a big difference. Two students decided to speak only English every day, and over time, they became very fluent. Using English in real life is also important. One of my students, while working in a shop, started speaking only English to her customers. At first, it was difficult, but over time, she grew in confidence and became much more fluent. Thinking your thoughts in English is another important step. When you think in English, you start speaking naturally. One of my students was constantly translating from his own language into English, and it was slowing him down. I said to him, try thinking in English, even when you're alone. Over time, his fluency improved, and now he spoke without any translation. Curiosity is another key to fluency. When you hear a new word, look it up and learn its meaning. One of my students used to come to me to ask me about every new word, and he would learn it by using it as many times as possible. When you have a goal, your motivation increases. One of my students dreamed of traveling to an English-speaking country. He studied every day because this goal motivated him, and when the time came to travel, he was fluent. Thinking your thoughts in English is another important step. When you think in English, you start speaking naturally. One of my students was constantly translating from his own language into English, and it was slowing him down. I said to him, try thinking in English, even when you are alone. Over time, his fluency improved, and now he spoke without any translation. When practicing, it is very important to have fun. Fluency doesn't come overnight, it takes time, but if you enjoy the journey, it becomes easier. One of my students used to watch English movies every night. In the beginning, he used to watch them with subtitles, but over time, he started watching them without subtitles. In the process, he had fun and his fluency improved. Repetition is one of the most powerful ways to learn. One of my students used to repeat sentences he heard, and this helped him a lot in remembering them. It is also useful to practice with different people. Every person speaks differently, so you can improve your language skills by talking to a variety of people. When you like something, the words come more easily. One of my students loved soccer and improved his English by talking about it every day. Thinking your thoughts in English is another important step. When you think in English, you start speaking naturally. One of my students was constantly translating from his own language into English, and it was slowing him down. I said to him, try thinking in English, even when you are alone. Over time, his fluency improved, and now he spoke without any translation. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more lessons and stories every week. See you in the next video, and keep practicing your English every day.